Hello everybody, Brian from Rebel Traders here. It is the weekend, August the 6th, and this of course is the weekend video. Apologize first off for not doing a video last week. I was in New York for our meetup, about 150 of our members and moderators there, giving seminars and lots of guest speakers. It was an amazing 2 days, including some live training. So if you were there, I'm sure you know how great it was. Lots of socializing as well and sharing ideas. So having said that, of course, this is the weekend video. We'll take a look at what happened last week in the markets, and then we'll take a look ahead and see what we got coming up this week. Let's get to it. So let's get started. Weekend review. Starting out earnings season, about 80% of the companies now have reported. Still got about 20% to go here. Results have been not bad. About 80% of the companies have been beating on the bottom line in terms of expectation, and about 59% have beat on revenue expectations top line. That might sound good, but that 59% beat is actually the lowest levels we've seen for about 3 years, so not heading in the right direction, obviously. Apple and Amazon reported on Friday. Apple disappointed, sort of a third quarter of revenue or earnings decline, and another one coming up according to their guidance. And Amazon beat both on top and bottom line, so surprising people. And of course, the stocks moved in opposite directions on Friday. All the indexes ended up down on the week. Tech-heavy Q sector led the way. You can see we're down about 3% on the week. And yeah, so it was a bit of a bloodbath on Friday as the market seemed to roll over around 1:30 or 2 o'clock, and it just continued to sell right into the close. A lot of sort of volatility in the yields. Haven't got that up there on the screen, but we had the Fitch downgrade last week, and yields kind of up and down on that. We'll take a look at the charts on the yields in a minute. And just a quick review here of energy sector. That was the only gainer on the week, actually. Utilities and technology were the biggest losers. Utilities usually drop when interest rates go up because their rates that they paid become less competitive to the rates you can just get on a treasury. 2-year was down a fraction, and the 10-year just continues to inch up on the long end there. US dollar was up on the week, and the Bitcoin's really struggling. It's actually, I haven't looked at it today, but it was just flirting with this 29,000 level, which is again another level that if it loses there, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. So let's move on here to some of the charts. And before we start looking at some charts, as always, I'd like to do a quick ad for my book on Amazon. There it is, Profiting as an Active Trader, Guide to Rules, Strategies, and the Routines of an Active Stock and Option Trader. And just as a little bit of a teaser here, I am actually writing a complete book on options trading, and that should be available later in the year. So let's move on and start looking at some charts here. And as always, let's start out by looking at the 10-year and the 2-year Treasury bills. Like to see what they're doing because they can affect the market significantly. The 2-year, as I mentioned, it looks like it's down a little bit here on the week. Really just sort of hovering around this 4.7, 4.8 level, just hanging in there, not really going anywhere. But it's the 10-year I find that's is more interesting here on the longer end of the curve. You can see we are in a sort of steady uptrend here. Moving averages are curling up, and this 4.2 level, we actually got to the 4.2 level during the week, and of course there was a lot of volatility because of the Fitch downgrade. Some people said it really doesn't matter, but again, it's sort of, I think, highlighting the issues with the debt, increasing debt that's going on, not just in the U.S., but it's all over the world. A lot of countries are taking on excessive amounts of debt here. So just watch this 4.2 level. I think if we break above this level, I think it's going to have an impact on the market in a negative way, but we are sort of inching in that direction. little bit of a pullback on the week, but again after that test of 4.2 again, but something to keep an eye on. Transports, you can see here we had a pretty down week. Came back down to an area where we significantly broke out from. We do have UPS reporting on Friday, and it'll be interesting to see if it actually can hold this this level, current level that we broke out from earlier in the last week or two. And of course that shows how we've definitely pulled back. You can see there's an area of prior resistance right here, and not surprising we found that area and pulled back. The Dow, again, kind of a nasty week as well. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday tried to rally, but again, we had that hard sell-off into the close, right down to this moving average. Here's an area where there could be some support, 34,500, if we do get a pullback that everybody's anticipating. And again, you can see there's a pretty significant area of resistance here that we broke through on this week, and we may be coming back to test that next week or two. The Qs, again, sort of same comment. Again, that really big sell-off on Friday. Pretty decent volume on the sell-off. And let's take a look at it on a weekly basis. Again, we seem to be sort of in a toppy area here. We've been trying to break out from this sort of 382 level, and again pretty much failed this week completely. And again, this sort of 365 level, 370 level is an area. This is where this big move up could come back and retest that area where we broke out from. The SPY again has really lost this uptrend. Broke down Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Again, big sell-off on Friday. Fair amount of volume on Friday as well, so that sort of indicates maybe some institutional selling. Again, the SPY right up at an area where there was some prior resistance, and again it became resistance as we pulled back from this level, and given all the stuff that went on as well. Volume was not really excessive, and the IWM, same story, pull back during the latter half of the week, and again just at an area of prior resistance, and testing that area again, and probably going to do a bit of a pullback here. So I'm expecting a little bit more volatility next week, and you can see that shows in the VIX as well. We had a pretty much gap up on Wednesday on the VIX, and now we had a pretty strong end to the week. Usually the VIX sells off during the week, but of course that did not happen. So indication that maybe more volatility is coming in the short term. Dollar, again, we've had this really strong run, pull back on Friday, Thursday and Friday, a little bit of a bounce back, but the dollar still in an uptrend, but looking a little bit like it may be getting into a trading range here after that big sell-off. Again, the dollar on the week, again, we seem to be stuck in this sort of trading range here. You can see it better on the weekly. And Bitcoin's still hanging around that, still hanging on to that 29,000 level. As I mentioned earlier, you can see here we've dropped below it a few times, come back up. So again, we are in a downtrend on Bitcoin. Let's take a look at it on the week. You can see here how we're kind of trailing off. So let's finish off by looking at a few things that I am going to be watching next week. Apple's quite interesting as far as I'm concerned. This 180 level looks like could be an area where there could be some support. On Friday, I actually sold some calls, some options on Apple, and we got a nice sell-off into the afternoon, and the 185 calls that I sold expired worthless. So nice, good trade on that. It just didn't seem like it wanted to get past 185 even when the market was rallying in the morning, which is why I took that trade. So we'll be watching that again next week for maybe an earnings trade with options after we get another day or two of reaction to earnings. So sort of 3-day rule there as usual. Wait for 3 days after an event to see where things settle out. Airbnb, again, another one that reported last week, and you can see here quite a bit of downside. We are finding some support here, so maybe these, we'll see what the options will bring us next week. Options values always drop after an event like an earnings event, so it's a matter of whether we can get at some decent premium. But this one sort of 39, 140 level looks like an area that it wants to hold here. So another day or so, and we'll see what happens on Airbnb. Amazon, of course, we had a nice move up here on Amazon on Friday. You can see here gapped up, but again, this what was it, 143.63 was the high. So maybe a 145 call. We'll just see if it continues to go higher next week, or if we get more of a sell-off than 145. Could be a significant area of resistance where you could sell some calls, weekly calls. It could head back down to the 135 level, but this area is where we kind of had resistance before, and this could be support. So you can see the big volume. So wait another day or so on that, or later in the day on Monday. As far as Google goes, Google's really been struggling here. Again, this one sort of 35 area looks like resistance, and there's a huge gap to fill here. But I would think that sort of this 125 area would be support. Live Nation had some earnings, and I think some bad news as well. The Department of Justice looking at their monopoly situation, but it does look like it's put in a bit of a bottom here, this 85 level, so I'll be watching that next week. Again, it may sort of stay down in that level, but that would be a good place. As long as it doesn't go any lower, it would be a good place to sell puts maybe. You can see here NVIDIA's struggling a little bit. It does report later in the month. I think it's the 23rd. Don't quote me on that, but that's the number. That's the August 3rd, 23rd date is what I think they report. Anyway, it's in a couple weeks from now. But you can see here it's making a series of lower highs. So we got a high here. This was a lower high. It looks like it's putting in a lower high because we've lost this moving average, which was support before and support here. And NVIDIA looks, like it's going to sort of grind again sideways going into this earnings number, which I'm sure is going to be good, but is it going to be good enough to support the real premium that it's trading at? So possible trade there for selling upside calls for weeklies, but not making sure we're not going in through an earnings season. Tesla again really peaked out here. Again, a series of pops, series of lower highs. Here's a lower high from here. Here's a lower high from here. Here's a lower high from here. So again, Tesla sort of grinding down slowly. It's lost this one moving average, the 20. It's coming down and testing the 50. And I think if it sort of loses this level next week, sort of this 250 level, we could be coming down to 240 on Tesla. XLE, again, as I mentioned, the only sector that actually finished green on the week. You can see it was marginally green. We did have a big sell-off on Friday as well, after really popping up here. Again, maybe just trading a little range bound here for the time being, but energy continues to perform fairly well. Real estate sector, again, I had highlighted this one last week. It's really been, or a week before, it's really been getting rocked here, and real estate continues to be a bit of a challenge. I haven't traded this one, unfortunately. I should have been short on it, but didn't execute with all the other stuff going on. This is kind of my feature of the week, the sector XLY, the consumer discretionaries. I keep hearing about record debt for the consumer, and of course it gapped up on the Amazon earnings report because it's one of the big influential stocks in this ETF. But again, just like Amazon, it gapped up and sold off here, and I think we are actually going to go back down and test this level again next week, which is an important level. 167.50 sort of area is where we broke out from, retested, and then broke higher again. So again, a series of lower highs. We got a lower high from here. Got a sell off, and then this went up, but it couldn't hold above this level. Actually finished here, so you can consider that another lower high as well, and on volume here too. So that's it, everybody. So let's wrap things up here for the week of August the 6th. What do we got coming up? You can see here, these are your levels, current levels that we went out on Friday, support and resistance there on the different levels. You can see are actually pretty close to a support level on the SPY, same with the Qs. And as far as economic events that are coming up this week, here you go, consumer credit. It'll be interesting. Nothing much on Wednesday. Again, the usual jobless claims Thursday, but we've got CPI numbers and PPI numbers Thursday and Friday. Those will be in focus, and consumer confidence at 10. And as far as earnings go, we've got a few interesting ones. You got Palantir, Lucid, Skyworks. Those will be interesting Monday afternoon. Rivian, UPS, and Datadog. AMC, a favorite, Mara, Twilio, Roblox, Disney, another interesting one. It's been struggling. I've got a Chinese stock, Baba, coming up on Thursday, and wrapping up the week with Air Canada on Friday. So should be interesting. Another interesting week as volatility has really started to creep up here. So we'll see what happens. That's it, everybody. And of course, say 8 o'clock. Everything's sort of going to be back to normal. 8 o'clock, we'll do the pre-market show with Jared, and then we'll move into our pre-market show. Peter and Carlos taking us into the open, and then we'll be trading the open with our members as usual. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody, and we will see you on Monday morning, hopefully. Take care. Bye for now.